So I have to share this today. Was on the road and listened to a clip from Dr. Kenneth Bailey talking about another subject, but he elaborated on a moment in Acts 16 which was really powerful, showing the power of God and working through Paul and Silas in this moment. And I'm going to refresh our memories just briefly and walk us through it. Paul and Silas enter Philippi. They meet a woman who deals in purple cloth, high-end, prominent woman, Lydia. They speak the word of God to her, and she and her whole family become Christians. And they leave at that point, go into the marketplace, and basically drive. There's a slave girl who's got a spirit in her, and it's a little irritating. Paul at some point says, drives that spirit out, and the people who make money off this slave girl now are upset, obviously, and they take Paul and Silas to the chief officials, and in front of the chief officials, they are ordered to be beaten because they are sending this city into an uproar. So Paul and Silas at this moment are beaten with rods, and they are then placed in the care of the jail. And in jail, we remember the story, the Philippian jailer, there's an earthquake, the jailer, all the doors are opened, and no one leaves. Jailer is amazed, and ultimately through this whole event, you can read the story, we know the story pretty well, he becomes a Christian, he and his whole family. Great story. So they go back into jail, and in the morning, the chief officials for the city say, hey, release those men. Tell the jailer, release the men. The jailer goes and says, hey, Paul, good news. You can leave. You and Silas can leave. And Paul says, not so quick. Do they know that they could do something to me as a Roman citizen? And then you can see the jailer's eyes light up, and fear comes across him and the others who, as he goes and reports this back to the chief officials, the magistrates, and they obviously are concerned. Paul has even told the jailer, he says, hey, they need to come and they need to escort me out. They're not going to do this in secret. What they did publicly, they're going to escort me out publicly. And so they do that. It says they went and they entered the prison. They left the prison with Paul. And then they all, possibly, that supposition, went to Lydia's house where Paul and Silas obviously encouraged them, and they left. Now, whether the magistrates were with them is neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a minute. Understand that in Acts 22, Paul is arrested in that moment, and he's about to be scourged. And prior to that, he says, wait a minute, you know I'm a Roman citizen. And the whole company of authority there kind of reels back, saying they're in fear because they understand that what they have done is something that can produce death as far as the treatment of a Roman citizen like this without due process. And even constraining them with chains could bring that type of punishment. And so going back to the Philippian moment, Paul had this card, this get out of jail free card. But the interesting thing is that I've never seen before is that he endured that beating. He had that card in place. I know I would have pulled that card out saying, oh, wait a minute, I am a Roman citizen. You can't do this without due process. However, he doesn't do that. He withholds that for some reason. And then he's in jail, Philippian jail, all these different moments, and then he's escorted out. And I'm talking with Michaela earlier, I think that Paul possibly in the moment understood that he's got this young community of believers that's just started, and to provide an element of protection as they get started and begin, as they move about the city, that he wants to make it evident and in view of the public of what has happened and who he's connected to. And so, and even more power to it if Lydia is actually, the magistrates are taken with Paul and Silas to meet Lydia, who is probably one of the most upstanding, prominent people within their community. It would have shocked them. And so Paul sort of had this over the magistrates in this community, saying, watch your step. This is what I have in my back pocket. So he didn't pull the card. So he took this beating for the Philippian church. I think he took the beating for the Philippian church. When we get to heaven, being able to ask him that would be amazing. But so much like Jesus, and I just thought this was very interesting. I wanted to share this as quickly as I can. So no graphics, no nothing, just this little blurb. Love you guys. Take care.